Hi guys, welcome to the Tomb of Illumination. I found this book at a market just the other day for $5. Straight away, you know it's related to King Arthur. The female version actually, told from the female perspective. And it's just quite funny how all these things work out, and synchronicity wise. Because I've now tapped into the YouTube videos regarding the Zohar. Okay, so basically the Zohar is all about the videos I've been doing for the last 4 or 5 years. It's all about the esoteric knowledge, the Kabbalah, the hidden knowledge. This is where I can read this esoteric text. All about man's rebirth, the part of our realm that common man doesn't understand, the non-physical. And this is which is in regards to the dual system reuniting to become singular again, because all of creation has come out of a single place. The center north of our flat earth system. We all come from within that vortex, central vortex, and we're cast into this duality, this northern and southern hemisphere. So it becomes a dual system. So that's the earthly scheme, overall system, and man is the same. He has a physical and a spiritual, and we have to reunite. And all these ancient stories all describe the same story. So you've got Homer's Iliad and the Odyssey. You've got all the ancient Egyptian America. You've got the King Arthur story. Put all the books out there in the library. There are hundreds of them. They're all telling the same story from all around the world. Different ages. Okay? And then you get the theologians in Israel, the fake Israel, putting everything in a chronological order. It's all a load of bullshit, everyone. It happens all the time. There's not a one-off Christ. The Christ is the story of this dual system coming into singularity. That whole story is representing the event. And this is our purpose in life, in this physical world. Before we die, before our body carks it, we have to wake up. Otherwise you just reincarnate, come back in another form to have another go. And realize we are all connected. All the energy of earth is connected with all living things. So you may not come back as another human. Okay, so you've got to do your best this time, because you might come back as a flippin' leaf or a dog or a tree or a cat, shrimp, bird, whatever. And anyway, so this is just another story regarding that matter. Oh, that's right. Why I mentioned the Zohar is because it starts talking about the feminine aspect, that God is hermaphrodite. He's male and female, which is correct. I've been telling you that in the videos, that the sun is hermaphrodite. It's male and female, which is created from the two ends of the Milky Way. One's male, one's female. One goes down into the central, look, that shape, that's the female end, the Milky Way. The male comes up out of here, over into there. That's the male end. And we have to, well anyway, during spiritual enlightenment, you become singular. The female aspect comes into you. You wake up your female aspect. And this is of course, this is Lilith. I've mentioned in videos before. This is long lost, the first wife of Adam. This is Lilith, meaning right back at the beginning of creation, there was singularity. While we're here, we might as well talk about Adam and Eve. What does Adam and Eve actually mean? Well, Adam is basically the atom, and Eve represents even. So it's an even split, male and female. So when they talk about Adam and Eve being cast out of the garden, they're being cast out of singularity. becomes separated, becomes male and female. So this comes after the Lilith story. Don't need too much about the Lilith story, do we? So Adam and Eve, well, that you might have Lilith as when you're created, and when you're born, you're still one. A child is still basically a hermaphrodite, even though it might have the organs, separate organs. From where he comes from, anyway. But Adam and Eve might come about once you reach puberty or something. Then it's determined. Or the story goes, when Adam and Eve had sex, they lost their spiritual connection, so they became separated. So you could say that too. But really it goes back to the beginning, and it's to do with singularity being separated. And why do they refer to Eve? You know, why the story goes that God took a rib from Adam and created Eve. When there's no missing rib in a man, but when you look at the rib cage of a man, it's the split atom, isn't it? You can say Adam and Eve. The rib cage, separated. So this is esoteric knowledge where the man has to start using his brain, thinking, what's going on here? So then you've got a north and a south hemisphere now, or a strong force and a weak force. Okay? But then it gets split again in multitude, infinitely. Like I've done a previous video on that. Because of these individual cycles. Every man is on a meridian. And he'll see his own as one magnetic cycle. Well, these are infinite. So these are split again. Okay? They're split from the northern and southern hemisphere. They're all individual now. Okay? So every time there's an extra man born, maybe it splits off, but that's just a weird way of looking at it. But so it's infinite, an infinitely split cell. It starts off at singularity back here. Adam and Eve. Eve as an even split. So it starts with atom and creates Eve. Splits apart, okay? Anyway, moving on to my video. This video. So, obviously, it's King Arthur, about King Arthur. So, we get straight up into the first page and starts talking about the story of enlightenment, which is about the Jesus story. Who's a king. It's about becoming a king through enlightenment, the divine enlightenment story. So it says here, and now, when the world has changed, and Arthur, my brother, my lover, king who was and king who shall be, lies dead. And this is in reference to the man who's in his bed. He's not dead. His old way is being written off. So the story is about killing him off, because you have to clean the barrel out to put the new wine in, right? So you've got to get rid of all the dirty shit. His duality, false belief system he's been born into and raised into. This happens later on in life. And in brackets here, the common folk say sleeping in the holy Isle of Avalon. Sleeping, because really he is sleeping. He's sleeping in bed because all this is going on while he's asleep. Comes like a thief in the night. Okay, and when it wakes him, because he hears his name called, he gets up and walks. And somewhere in the Zohar, I think it mentions that, about the moon, where they don't call it the moon because they don't understand either. When they decipher all the stuff, they got no idea what they're talking about. It represents the female, the moon. And he gets up to greet her. He gets up, walks to greet her. It's part of that story where he gets out of the bed. In the Bible it says, ye to he who stands up and walks. Okay? Because you have to stand up to let the elixir flow through your system, because you've raised your Christ within, Christos, has to flush through your system. It won't do it if you don't wake up and get out of bed. That's the story, right? So I'll take this cover off, because it's pretty hard to hold this book when it's flopping around. I'll just read some passages that I've underlined. So what have we got here? Common folk think, say, he's sleeping in the Isle of Avalon. The Isle of Avalon, there's the isle, it's all about the tropical gap. This is the most divine region of our earth. Okay, because that's the place of rest. And that's where man has to go spiritually, mentally, psychologically. That represents the black hole of creation, place of rest. That's why we don't have a moving magnetic field in here. That's a representation of rest. The field curves out here and curves in there, but not in the tropics. The tale should be told as it was before the priests of the White Christ came to cover it all with their saints and legends. Well, I've talked about the saints' positions in the zodiac. Saints to do with Leo here, the four corners. Don't they call these the non-physical numbers? 3, 6. How does that work? No, that's a different story. For as I say, the world itself has changed. There was a time when a traveller, if he had the will and knew only a few of the secrets, could send his barge out into the summer sea and arrive not at Glastonbury of the monks, but at the holy Isle of Avalon. Now, he's talking about the boat, that'll be the solar boat, which is the Milky Way, okay, because that swings over you, swings around and comes over you, lines up across Avalon, across the tropical gap. Line up, see? The sun and the lemurs, but the Milky Way does the same, lines up, because the sun is in the Milky Way. For at that time the gates between the worlds drifted within the mist and were open one to another. My earlier videos, the mist, the hidden place, the secret. The secret of the two hemispheres that overlay like this. And people go, you know, globies, like silly people like Simon Dan clan people, say you should see an overlay. Why would you see an overlay? What have I just said? There's no magnetic field in the tropics. Why would the stars be in there? You do not see them. They go down in there as they swing down, because they're all reflected from it in the north here, okay, as the seasons change. So this field, the southern field, comes up this way, but it's actually going down into a mente. Down. Oops, that's a dead pen. Okay. So there, you could say, because basically there's the tree of life. So we've got to look at it this way. This is the southern hemisphere. This is the northern hemisphere. Okay, this is under the olive tree, under the olive tree, whatever, before the expansion. But I've been over this in my earlier videos. Where were we going with that? And now the priests, thinking that this infringes upon the power of their God, who created the world once and for all to be unchanging, because it's fixed and stationary, have closed those doors. The spiritual doors are closed to us. We're too dumb and ignorant now. We're not waking up. And this goes back to the original, one of the earliest creation stories, the Anunnaki, mining for gold. Go forth and multiply, he says. Because he's hoping that someone's mind is going to wake up and illuminate, which replaces the sun. And that takes you back to the Zeus story. Zeus heard that his son will kill him, so he wanted to do away with all the baby boys. But that's part of the killing the old way of man off so he can be illuminated again. They're all connected, you see. I'm losing myself. Once and for all to be unchanging. The Anunnaki story, yes. That's mining for gold, hoping that someone's mind will wake up and be illuminated. Because if he's illuminated, his spiritual side up there, keeps the moon lit. So if we were all stone dead and no one ever woke up at the right time, the sun would disappear and we would all disappear. We wouldn't exist. But this is way beyond the common folk. No concept of this at all. In the Zohar, it tells you that, explains that everything is consciousness, and what we all have up here creates our whole realm on a collective scale. But as an individual, if you're in your arc of horizon, you only see to the horizon, nothing else exists, basically. You can walk, your arc will go with you, and the land will be there because the land is fixed and stationary, but everything in it, like all the bullshit you've been taught, if you've been taught any bullshit, all that crap, it wouldn't be there. Okay? You just discover it like it's a new day. Every day would be a new day. You're discovering something new, all on your own, like a bird, as you move across the earth, the animals, the trees. But in the Bible it's basically telling you, be not concerned with other people's matters, because there's a greater power at play. You cannot, if you're battling a collective consciousness, so it's all this evil out here, you cannot change it, but we can all on a collective. We can stop all the evil if we don't concentrate on it. So you don't go on. You should avoid all your social media sites and all the evil that's going on. You meditate, stay in a place of tranquility, and none of this exists. It doesn't affect you. But if we all did this, there would be no evil out there. It all dies. It cannot survive. That's beyond most people as well. Have closed the doors, which were never doors, except in the minds of men. Well, we have the gates of heaven. The gates are the claustrum. So when man's divinely awoken, the claustrum open. And they are the gates that will not be shut. Once they open, they create the blood. The blood releases bleeding. And that gets flushed into your system. That lets the divine elixir go through the gates and mixes with that blood. And that's why you stand up and you walk and it flushes through your system. Boom, you're enlightened, man. Woo! And the pathway leads only to the priest's aisle, which they have safeguarded with the sound of their church bells, driving away all thoughts of other world lying in the darkness. See, we're all born into darkness, okay, until we're illuminated. We're all brain dead. It's one way of saying it. You're a zombie until you wake up that other part of your dormant brain. Indeed, they say the world, if it indeed exists, and the property of Satan and the doorway to hell is not hell itself. It's all of the mind. I'll just read these underlined bits, or paragraphs to go with them maybe. But the strife is over. I could greet Arthur at last when he lay dying, not as my enemy and the enemy of my goddess, but only as my brother, and as a dying man in need of the mother's aid. So you're going through this, you need the moon. The moon is the mother, okay? The sun is the father, and the black hole. And we're all men come at last, even the priests know this. with their ever-Virgin Mary in her blue robe, for she too becomes the world mother in the hour of death. Talked about that. Man's hour, his arc of horizon. So every man's under his arc of horizon. Man's hour is this alignment, keystone, aligning with the other hemisphere. The Sun and Elema, the Milky Way on this, the northern hemisphere, the Milky Way aligning in his southern hemisphere. Man's divine hour. We've done lots of videos on that. Goddess, and there is only one initiator. Meaning, you need to initiate it. Excuse me, basically you have to initiate it, but it cannot be done without the full moon in your sign. Your conception sign. She adds her 1/7 and bingo. Okay? So you break down the names in here. We've got Morgan, and Morgan. Morgan C circle. You got Morgan Lee Fay. Lee meaning I, me, myself, singular. And Fay, your fate. So you got the C circle, becoming singular, spiritual, and it's your fate. Right. There were still those who believed the castle had been razed. Well, it's been razed. And the crags at the far end of the long causeway into the sea. So the causeway is the Milky Way. It goes into the sea, which means your horizon. Out, goes down to your horizon. The Milky Way comes from your eastern horizon, doesn't it? Over the night it flows up, right up and becomes straight at the holy season, which is now, this time of the year. Otherwise it cannot create the straight alignment. Causeway into the sea. And one end comes out from your south end. So let's say that's south, there's the northern hemisphere, there's a tropical gap, and there's one man's arc of horizon. There's a multitude of these all the way around the centre north. This is north, this is south. They're all the way around. So it comes around from his south, but you only see it when it hits there basically, doesn't it? Comes up, goes around and over your arc of horizon. Going around like that on the flat plane is horizontal, but we see everything vertically. Because you've got the flat plane of Earth, which is everything's working laterally or horizontally, but we see it go up and over like this. Okay? So up and over is these lateral curving field lines. So we've seen them go up and over our arc of horizon, swing around and go back up and around again. That's your 24-hour day. Right around like that, just keeps doing that cycle. Further around here, this guy's doing the same thing. Going around like this. Every day. That's what it's all the same, but the ecliptic plane tilts, you see. So the stars do move. They move up and in, and then come back out. Okay? So you'll see the Southern Cross way out to the south here. And as it comes into winter, summer, what is it? Winter, that moves way up here into the winter. And then it comes back down again. So it's gone back into Amente, into here, then comes back out again. So if the southern stars are doing this, then obviously back in the centre here, the central vortex, the stars are coming up or going down. They spiral up and go back down. I haven't done a video on that yet because that's all reflected out here. That's what's making these movements. What do we got here? Had come here at Gorlos's bride. Ingrin had been good land, crumbled into the Cornish sea. Okay? Crumble is going down into a mente. The magnetic field, because the stars are out here in the south, they come up, going under the tree here, right? Under the northern hemisphere, because this is north right up to here. Basically go down like that. Because the whole magnetic field flows like this, up and over and down like that. So all the stars are moving up this way, which means these ones here are going to end up falling back down here. But we don't see them in this magnetic field gap. Okay? It's just the way it is. We need to see that. This is the sky up here. Told him she bore his first child. Okay, that's the whole Christ story. But Ingrid had never liked wearing them. The jewels were hung around at her throat, had been given her in Avalon. So we're talking about the neck again. Been over that in the videos, haven't I? How the neck represents everything. You can even refer that to your chakras. A moonstone, which sometimes reflected the blue brilliance of sky and sea. But in the fog today, even the jewel looked shadowed. So this is all about the hidden, the secret. It's all hidden from us because it's at this time of the year. Sun's in a lemma in this point here. And we don't know about this everything being even here. We think it's all even out here at the equinox. But there's a line here throughout that explains that. Look, even the shadow, okay. Let's move on a bit. Goats and sheep. So where nothing lives but goats and sheep. So it's about the goat and sheep. The sheep being Aries and the goat Capricorn. In the Jesus story, he's a Capricorn goat, but he was conceived in Aries, the sheep. And the herdsmen and their dogs. So the dog could refer back to Antares, dog star, or something like that. And the lady of the castle, a few serving women, and a few old men to guard them. Turned and went back towards the castle. Slowly ingrained, turned and went back towards the castle. That's it's the cycle I was showing about back here. There's a castle going around, turning and going back to your castle. That's the southern hemisphere. You get the same in the northern hemisphere. Causeway, Milky Way, and then you think of the causeway, Milky Way. There's a causeway from Khufu to underground to the Sphinx, because it's the same story. Khufu is representing the moon, maybe creation, the centre north, and the Sphinx is out there, maybe representing the causeway, the tropical gap. Maybe I'm thinking about that one. Lyonese, the etymology. Yeah, look up Lyonese, the etymology in the Meridian or Merriam-Webster. It mentions fishermen as the Pisces. Easy to believe in drowned lands to the west. It's going out of your horizon. The Great Fire Mountain which exploded. The time was long past when she needed to startle at a strange sound or a shadow. That's just representing that she's awakened now and she understands everything that's going on. So nothing scares her now.